haven't had.
Why am I missing? Why am I like this? I'm really mad. I should call.
Should I like?
It's fine. It will dry.
Okay, that's good.
That is a feature of evaporation. It dries stuff.
Thanks, Lily.
Whoa, Lily.
Science lessons 101.
You're so smart and talented. Wow.
Wow.
Evaporation for the win.
Skills definitely got me a long way. No one evaporation exists.
Okay, adios, friends.
No one else exists. This
Have fun
basketball game.
reading.
No one else exists. Sleeping.
Bye.
Non-unique. Whatever.
I think I should get a life.
I already sleep.
I have a life, Daeny. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. That's true.
What would you do other than read gay fan fiction and
You know what? That doesn't take up the majority of my time.
that's
Okay?
it?
could I
And go on
read
Food
this one?
Network?
Why can't you just get your own phone or a timer?
Sorry, but my phone.
Please, Christie.
Her phone is literally a flip phone. Like literally a flip
What's
phone.
wrong with her using yours? No, I don't know.
You know who else had a flip phone? Lily Hackworth.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Then she got.
Wait,
then
no,
she got
that's not
tech-
what I was going to talk
tech
about.
savvy.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know. She has
Mr.
a timer.
Sauls, tomorrow in band,
I know.
can we leave our instruments in the car?
Yep.
Okay.
If you want to. Are you going to Guadalupe River?
Yeah, I'm going to go.
And some of the people are going to the
Some
church
people
out
are
in
going.
Santa Teresa.
Yeah.
And there's some people coming back here also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Alright. Time starts now. As the first speaker of the Furniture team, I strongly affirm today's resolution, the USFG should nationalize internet service providers. So, just some background definitions. Nationalize means that the government is taking control of a company or industry, and the former owners of the companies are compensated for their loss in net worth and potential income. So, going on to plan text. So after ESFG, time frame as soon as possible, funding, normal ways and means, criterion, net benefits. Our plan text is the USFG, pretty contextual, is going to nationalize the internet service industry, as in they will now be the sole provider of internet service. Alright, so going on to our first contention is that about speed. So as of now, currently in the USA, only 63% of households actually have high-speed internet, compared to other countries which have actually nationalized their industries, like Finland, which has an 83% rate, and France, which also nationalized this industry, has a rate that is 5 times better than us. So what we see here is that as of now, the status quo, we don't really see many people, especially in rural areas, don't have access to the internet, and company plans are often not affordable to everyone. So what we see is a lot of families and households are being left out. And the link here is looking at the government nationalizing this industry and government in control. It ensures what we see here is an increase in quality based on the past evidence we have presented, as well as more people have access to high-speed internet. So because the whole industry will be nationalized under one management and one department, rather than many other companies trying to manage everything by themselves. So the impact here is that we have people that are receiving more high-speed internet, which can lead to less time being used on this and more time being spent on other matters such as their family and an increased quality of life. Okay, so our second contention is that about safety. So with the government in control, what we see here is that there's no, unlike the status quo, there's a middleman between agencies and the government, but when we have government in control, it gives the government a safe opportunity to protect against illegal elements that may be present in the internet world, and they can monitor it with accuracy and more openness. And the link here is that with government in control of the internet, they are at this key position in which they can monitor for more legal elements, and we can see illegal activity being addressed to more rather than having private companies trying to address it themselves. And the impact here is like high quality safety, which leads to high quality of life. Okay. So, going on to our third contention, it's that of
Wait, what's my third
give some examples. AT&T and Comcast, they have 59% profit margin. So what we see here is that unlike the government, companies go in just for profit and they go in to appease their shareholders. But when we have government in sole control of this one industry, what we see is that the government is no longer going for profit, whereas they're going for the welfare of everyone in their country and the providers that need access to this utility. And this is overall beneficial, which means the government can provide the service at an at-cost rate, meaning they're not going for profit, as in they're not going to be ripping off individuals, and more people will have access to high-speed internet, especially those in rural areas who are often marginalized when it comes to high-speed internet. So the link here is, having a cheaper cost means that more people can get this access, which impacts out to more people having more opportunities, whether it's in business or education, overall improving their lifestyle. So I guess I have a fourth contention, which is that about competition. Okay, so, or you can write this as the impact off of, no, actually let's just call this a fourth contention and make this easier for everyone. Okay, so, as of right now, you can talk about this competition. So the private sector has pretty much failed Americans, as when we see only a certain group having any access to high-speed internet, whereas other countries which have nationalized their internet providers have reached numbers are doing 5 times better than us and have a broadband internet service. So what we see here is that when our internet is slow, what this means is it's hard for America to compete with other countries. We can bring up the example of Singapore, which pretty much has 100% rate of broadband internet, and what they are now the people who live in yes.
Do you happen to know Singapore's population density by any chance?
Yeah, I do know, but I'm just trying to
think.
it's really tiny. But yeah.
So the population density is high.
Oh yeah. Are you talking? They're all cramped. They're all cramped. Okay, whatever it is, if they just have faster internet than us, okay? Okay. And almost everybody has access. At least 100. They're upwards of nearly 100%. So what we see here is that they are uniquely positioned to conduct business and trade. And when it comes to matters like the stock market and investing, internet is a very key tool, as in those who can act the fastest gain a lot more. And Americans are slightly disadvantaged when it comes to competing with the international community. So once we nationalize the internet, and once we lower the cost and provide better services, as it will happen with the government in control, as they're not going in for the profit, we see here is that everyone will now be able to compete more, especially when it comes to the international community, and more money can be made, and this impacts the higher quality of life. So overall, what we see here is that the key thing is when we have the government in control, the service will get better, as well as service will get more fair, which means everyone will have more access to a broadband internet service. And for all these reasons, I strongly affirm. So was that terrible? It was decent, right?
Not going to turn this into a flow debate. Okay. As the leader of the negation team, I strongly negate today's resolution that the United States federal government should nationalize internet service providers. So our first contention is about consumer choice. Now, by nationalizing internet service providers, this means that people can't really choose what service provider they want. Now, it's been proven, according to CNN, that when businesses compete for more customers, when they don't have governments taking over these businesses, and having only one provider, that these businesses are going to compete for more consumers, which means lowered prices, and means that the cable bills for consumers go down 15% and service improves dramatically. Now what this means is that by passing the affirmative team's plan and nationalizing internet service providers, this means that essentially the government is going to be able to have control of these companies. There's not going to be any competition. There's no reason for the company to lower its prices and actually have a lower price for consumers. Now, the affirmative team tells you several times that the government is just trying to be there for the welfare of the people, and it's not going to try to increase prices. They have no proof of this at all. Literally, the government can totally just increase prices on us. They have control over. If they pass the affirmative team's plan, we're going to control they essentially have a monopoly. They can do whatever they want, and the affirmative team really has no reason otherwise. I'll take your question later. Okay, so the impact of this contention is that by passing the affirmative team's plan, we're going to see a decrease in availability for consumers, especially because there's not going to be a decrease in price. The price can actually increase. So let's go on to the second contention about freedom of speech. Now, when the government nationalizes the internet service providers, as the affirmative team says, the government is going to be the sole provider of the internet. They're essentially going to have control of the internet for the American people, and that could really affect the freedom of speech for Americans. What we see is that their actions could be controlled by the United States. We can see that they could possibly not have access to certain news outlets, or not be able to access certain websites that are dangerous or inappropriate for them to be viewing. And what we see here is that that's going to decrease the freedom of speech and decrease the quality of life for the American people. Okay, let's go on to the third contention about economy. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, bureaucrats actually consider, if we nationalize internet service providers, these broadband providers would actually have to go through the government. They'd have to say, this is our plan, this is the price that we want to set here. And bureaucrats would essentially be approving these prices, say, oh, yes or no, you can have this price, or you can't have this price. And when we have this huge mountain of paperwork and this huge bureaucracy that these businesses have to wade through in order to actually provide, before they can actually start providing for these providing internet service, we see that they're really discouraged from further investment, and it prevents people from investing in this area because they see, oh, I have to do so much, I have to go through so much government regulation and actually have my prices fixed by the government before I can actually start doing stuff. And so what we see is that by passing the affirmative team's plan, we're going to see a decrease in investment in future broadband technologies, and a decrease in, pretty much a decrease in this industry, which means that we could lose any future economic benefits that we could have possibly gained from this industry and from these companies who are providing broadband service and internet service. Okay, let's go on to the first contention here. Their first contention is about speed. So they give you a lot of examples, about Finland and France. Okay. Anyways, let's talk about how they tell you that company plans are not affordable right now. I tell you specifically in my case that when companies compete with each other, when we have so many companies competing with each other, consumers actually have lower prices. They actually have their cable bills go down 15%. However, how can the government, by giving the government complete control of this industry, we see that they'll essentially have a monopoly on it. There's going to be no reason for them to decrease their prices at all. Once again, the affirmative team is going to stand up here and tell you that the government is just working for the welfare of the people. That's not necessarily true. Yeah. Okay, in addition, they tell you, oh, we're going to guarantee higher quality of life. We're going to guarantee that more people have access. Just as the affirmative team says herself, the reason why a lot of people don't have access is because they live in rural areas. So how can the affirmative team really guarantee that they're going to be building infrastructure in these areas for internet service? All they can really do is nationalize internet service providers, not really actually go into these areas and build more infrastructure and more technology for providing internet service to these people. And so we can see that they don't really have this impact that they bring throughout their case of giving more access, of allowing more people to have access to the internet, which pretty much strikes down all of their other impacts about having a higher quality of life because increasing competition overall. Okay. So let's go on to their second contention about safety. Let's turn this here and talk about security. Not security. Sorry. Talk about freedom of speech, right? So I tell you in my second contention that really that essentially the government is going to have control of the internet. They're the sole provider of the internet. That means that they can pretty much control what sites you're able to visit, etc. And that means that we might have safety from these legal elements, of which they don't provide you any instances of where the government specifically prevented illegal elements from hurting businesses or hurting people. So they don't give you any proof of that at all. But in fact, what we see is that we're going to actually have a decrease in freedom of speech and a decrease in quality of life. You should really be weighing human rights over safety at this point, because without the freedom of speech, and without these basic freedoms, what does it really mean to be human? That got really deep there. Okay. Let's talk about their third. Oh shit, I have a minute. Let's talk about their third contention about cost. So in turn, the cost can increase here. So the government can monopolize, right? They essentially have control of this whole business right now, which means that they don't really have to decrease prices for the consumers. Just cross-apply that here. Second of all, they tell you that the government is not for profit, but for welfare. They don't really have any proof of that the government's going to be yes, we're going to give you, make the internet price lower. I just thought of an example. Okay, let's go back to their fourth contention about competition. They tell you how we can't compete with other countries, and they give you the example of Singapore. Actually, should I touch this? Okay, anyways, I don't know about Singapore's population density, but I'm going to assume right now that it's a lot higher than America. The fact of the matter is America has a bunch of people living in rural areas, right? And so, so it's cheaper to build internet service providing tech infrastructure in these areas that have higher population density, especially Singapore, where they have a bunch of skyscrapers, because it means that you can build it cheaply, and a lot of people are going to be able to have access to it. Okay, I'm done. Okay, wait 1 second.
Alright, I'll just go next. Wait, that seems kind of let's do that. Alright, so time starts now. As the second speaker of the Congress team, I strongly affirm today's resolution. The USFG should nationalize internet service providers. So the first contention of the negation team is that of consumer choice, and they talk about how because of the choices, the businesses often compete and lower prices in order to appeal to consumers. But if you look back at the evidence I provided you, Judge, which is that of how Comcast and hold on, I'm finding it. Shoot, it was there. I swear to God. Oh yeah, AT&T. They often overcharge their consumers by over 59%. So what we see here is that there has been no decrease of prices, and it's customers have pretty much been ripped off, and they're not even being provided good internet in the first place. So what we see here is that consumer choice isn't really the matter here when all the options are pretty much frankly terrible. So going on, what we see here is that unlike the thing at the AFROL is when we have government in control, they are in this unique position to collectively lower prices, which is we see we're going to have. Second contention is that of freedom of speech, and they talked about government could possibly control the internet and people could have any access. Okay, so what I'm also going to do is provide examples of other countries which have done pretty much the exact same things, just France and what was it, Sweden? Finland. Yeah, so their citizens are doing fine, I guess. Oh yeah, in addition, so the current legislature that applies to internet and internet security, actually, that doesn't really disqualify the protection of private individuals. That doesn't really disqualify private companies. So government will pretty much have the same access as they did before, because the legislature never really excluded private companies in the first place. That's all I'm supposed to say. Okay, so third contention is that of bureaucratic policies. So again, you can turn this because we're going to say it's going to be going faster because everything's under one management and one department, rather than having multiple different companies trying to sort out the whole country. We have everything under one system, which essentially is going to be faster, not slower, unlike the negation team will have you believe. So going on to the first contention, which is that of costs, and their only other argument was that government can simply raise the prices. However, what the negation team is failed to provide any warrants on how this is going to happen. They never provided any examples where government has just collectively raised prices in the past. So what we are claiming here is that government, because it's not going out for profit, rather it's more like a utility, such as like water or gas, it's not going to be, there's no increase of cost, and instead it's going to be provided at cost, which would be significantly better than being worked off by companies by like having to pay 53% more. Yeah. So going on to second contention that of safety, and they tried to turn this saying that freedom of speech, essentially, what they and then they talked about, they never talked about what illegal elements are being protected against. Okay, here's an example: child pornography. That was actually on the website. We see that government has this unique position to actually solve problems right away, rather than having to trust private companies to contact the government to solve these problems in the first place. So there's going to be an overall increase of safety because things will be done more efficiently and in a safer manner. So don't give them access to that. Third contention is out of cost, and they try to turn that again, saying that companies, when companies have consumers, they have to have lower prices to compete. Well, if companies have lower prices, then why are they selling their services at over like 53% than at the at-cost rate? When we see that in other countries, they have faster and cheaper, faster rates of internet, as well as cheaper rates of internet, which is overall better than us. So for them to be going for the squib is simply ridiculous, considering that the government has a unique position to solve this problem in the first place. Our third contention, which is that of international trading, and they talked about the skyscrapers. Apparently, Singapore is more innately adept. And they talked about how America is in rural areas. Okay. So what the negation team failed to understand is that when we talked about rural areas and helping more people have access, it's also a matter of income. A lot of people in rural areas are often disadvantaged compared when it comes to in terms of income, and therefore when we have companies overall raising the prices and having these high prices, the problem is people can't afford to pay for it in the first place. So which hit back to our contention that when government is in control, prices are going to decrease, which is why people in rural areas will have all this access. It's not about building infrastructure. The infrastructure is there. It's a problem about having these high prices in which people are disadvantaged and can't afford them in the first place. Could we like on your phone? Yes, let's see how much time I have. Oh, I have 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, so pretty much with the neg, so consumer choice, not really a matter about choice, because all the choices are pretty bad in the first place. Freedom of speech, again, the same laws that are in place right now regarding freedom in internet and that sort of matters, and those sort of matters, they do not exclude private companies. So, and we can be protected against illegal elements such as child pornography. And government is more adept to handle it because normally they'd probably have to depend on private companies to report this stuff, which would probably not be their first priority. Okay. So here in the app, what we see here is that there's going to be a lower cost because government is not going for profit. Instead, they're providing it simply as a utility, and it's going to be sold at cost. And this leads to an overall broadband range of high-speed internet in which more people can access affordable internet. So, that's fine. Okay, so going on, and what we see here is that also we're going to have more efficient speeds as based on previous evidence of safety, and we're going to be able to compete more with the international community, who seems to pretty much have better internet than us. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Okay, so what's the process for the government to do stuff against illegal stuff? What I mean, do they have access to internet activity right now?
Yeah, they do. They do. Even under private companies right now, they have access to activity at the moment, yet the thing is they have to depend on private companies as well. It's like a partnership, they kind of have to depend on them to
So they can access it, but then they also depend at the same time.
Yeah, it's a working partnership. Yeah, there you go. It's a partnership. One side is doing nothing.
Okay, cool.
My partner is doing nothing.
Okay. Great. I guess I'm going to be...
Okay. Oh, boy.
strongly negate today's resolution that the United States federal government should nationalize internet service providers. Let's go into the negation team's case first. So our first contention is about consumer choice, right? And they say, oh, okay, we have evidence that Comcast and AT&T overcharged by 59%. It's still not good service. Okay. So if we have conflicting evidence, like whatever, let's logic this out, right? So when companies are competing for like consumers, then obviously they want more consumers, right? They want more money. So what happens is that if they have too high a price, people are not going to pay that. They're not going to be willing to pay it. So to actually be able to compete, to actually get a consumer base, they have to lower their prices. And so that's what we actually see in the status quo right now. The affirmative team still doesn't provide any evidence how the government would actually do better, how the government would not overcharge for internet service. They don't provide any warrants for this at all. They just tell you the government can lower prices. Well, they can lower prices, but it doesn't mean that they will. Okay. So we can see that this contention still stands. So let's talk about our second contention, which is about the freedom of speech. So they give you, I'm sorry, I don't have time. Okay. They talk about France and Finland and how the government has the same access as before. Okay. So first of all, these are the regulations in the status quo. So we're going to be changing this. Like that's what the affirmative team is going to be doing, right? They're going to be changing that and making it so that the government is the one that has like all the power over the internet, right? And in addition, they never like specify that that they're going to have like this same legislation stay in their plan. So like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what that was supposed to be. Okay. Yeah, they also tell you that like France is safe, and then like Paris. Okay, let's go on to the third contention. About economy. Okay, so they tell you that that they're going to have faster service under the government because they have like one department doing everything. Okay, so think about it this way. If we have one big company doing it, and let's say that one big company crashes, well, first of all, it's like an even bigger company than the ones that we have in the status quo, so it's going to take them like some time to like fix the problem, right? More than it would be if we didn't nationalize internet service. And second of all, like it would just be bad because it means that less people have internet service providers. So if we think about it, then essentially, if we have like one big company, it's probably going to be harder for them to give internet service because they have like more people to provide it to, and it's just a lot of people. Like it's just going to be really bad. I'm sorry, I really don't have time. Okay. Let's talk about the affirmative team's case. Okay. So their first contention is about speed, and so essentially, I think the only thing they said here when I was talking about my refutations is that we need a warrant as to how there's no like increase in cost. I already like logically explained this to you and provided evidence, so this refutation really doesn't stand. That's the only thing they talk about here. I tell you here like that they don't guarantee that they're going to be improving access like by building infrastructure, because that's the problem here. Like we don't really have the internet infrastructure in rural areas. They tell you that it's the negation that the affirmative team tells you that it's a matter of income. That it's a matter of income. Well, okay, yeah. Cross-apply here that the government's not necessarily going to lower prices for these people who aren't able to afford it right now. Like they really don't give you any proof as to why and how the government is going to lower these prices. So you can just extend all the refutations that I make here, specifically about the turn here, how it's not going to be more affordable, and how we're not going to be guaranteeing more access. Let's talk about the second contention about safety. So we give you, I turned this contention in my first speech about security and asked the affirmative team to essentially provide, not security, about freedom, yeah. And so, so I asked the affirmative team to provide proof that the government will specifically prevent citizens from illegal elements. And they tell you, okay, yeah, we're going to be preventing child pornography. So yeah, I agree, child pornography is bad. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to argue against that. But, sorry, give me a second. Anyways, so yeah, essentially the reputation that they've been making here is that like the legislation right now is going to be able to actually essentially what I got from their last speech is that like the government has access to our activity on the internet, but then they also like have to work with companies. But in the status quo, like if they already have access to our internet activities, why do they need like more access? Yeah, that doesn't really sound great. And if they're able to prevent stuff like this in the status quo, then I don't see any reason why we need to nationalize the internet service providers specifically for safety. Okay. Let's go to their third contention about cost. So we tell you that the cost can actually go up because the government can monopolize this. Will essentially be monopolizing this industry when we nationalize internet service providers. And so that means that the cost could go up because the government essentially has like this huge industry, they can do whatever with it. First of all, so the affirmative team is like, oh, well, in other countries it's faster and cheaper. I feel like this is okay. There's a lot of other factors like in other countries that make it faster and cheaper, like the fact that they've been doing it like a long time ago, like 10, 20 years ago, well, not 20, but like 10 years ago, they actually had a plan in place for this to actually be able to provide for their people. Secondly, about population density that I talk about in the Singapore example. Oh my god, I only have 30 seconds. Okay. Yeah, so essentially there's a lot of other reasons why these other countries have a lower cost, and that those don't really apply to America. Let's go down to the fourth contention about competition. So, that whole Singapore example about population density, all they say is that, oh, it's a matter of income. Fact of the matter is, like, Singapore is different from the United States, and it's much easier to build infrastructure there, and it's much easier to provide internet there. That's why they have, like, cheaper and faster service, just because it's easier to, like, provide it there. And they also tell you it's a matter of income. I believe I've already retweeted it. Okay, I negate. Wait, it's my speech. Jeez. Okay. Oh, thanks.
Stick. Also, I have to go help make a poster when you're all done. So you guys can walk me over there, and I'll be back while we're walking, so I can make my poster. Okay. And then I'll make.
Where do you have to make your poster?
Our facing history.
Oh, nasty.
Just saying.
Where do you have to make it?
Are you kidding me? I really hate you. Wait, I'm so confused right now. Wait, I can't tell if you're serious or not. I'm so confused.
25 seconds is up.
I'm so confused. I just stop doing this to me. Okay.
That's not literally what you're swearing.
Okay. This is not okay. Okay.
Ready, set, go.
Oh shit. Okay. As the leader of the negation team, I strongly negate today's resolution. The United States federal government should nationalize internet service providers. So in this speech, I'm going to be going over voting issues and the reasons why I urge you, Judge, to vote for the negation team. Okay. Thanks. All right. First of all, let's essentially talk about let's just go over the negation team's case, I guess. Okay, actually, let's just talk about the assumptions that the affirmative team makes in today's round. Specifically, first of all, that the government is like here for welfare and is going to be great and amazing and everything. That somehow the government is going to be decreasing prices for internet service. That they're going to like make it safe. Okay, so firstly, let's talk about how the government's going to decrease prices. I've already logicked. That sounds weird. Logically. There we go. I've already logically explained to you why having only one actor, like one company, do this is not that great because they have control of the whole industry and now they can just shoot up prices whenever they want. And with companies, with like actual companies competing, you're actually going to have lower prices. So So by passing the affirmative team's plan, we see that we're going to have like higher prices under the government. They really don't give you any evidence throughout the round as to how they're going to be decreasing prices. They also don't give you any explanation when I talk about like building infrastructure. Like they can't guarantee like building the internet infrastructure that would be needed to increase access, to like make access 100% from 63%. So they don't get any of these impacts that they talk about. I bring this up in my first speech. Don't let them talk about it in their PMR, especially because they have a whole 7 minutes to read. Okay. Secondly, the second assumption that the government is here is going to keep us safe. Okay. First of all, I tell you that what did I tell you? Okay. Essentially, they're not really specific about what the government can do in the status quo, like what measures it's going to take to keep us safe. But what I seem to be hearing is that, well, the government's doing an okay job of it anyway. So going beyond that would pretty much mean that they're going to be overstepping their bounds and overstepping people's privacy, and not only privacy but also freedom of speech, which I talk about in my case. And I'm having and that's bad. Like the government being in our faces all the time is like pretty bad because that's not good. It's not nice. Okay. What? Yeah. Okay. Second of all, let's talk about impacts, I guess. Ooh, fun times. Okay. So when we look at the affirmative team's case, we can kind of sum up all of their impacts and like quality of life and more access. Yeah. I've proven to you several times why these impacts don't really stand in today's round. Because it would take like more than just nationalizing internet service providers to actually like increase access to 100%, to actually achieve the levels that other countries have right now. And of course, I tell you that there are other factors at play here when we're nationalizing internet service. Yeah. Okay. Also, oh wow, this is a very nice repetition. Okay, their safety impact, it obviously doesn't stand because I think our safety is okay. Yeah, they don't prove otherwise. Meanwhile, when you look at the negation team's contention, they don't really address our impacts at all. Oh, maybe I just didn't write it down. But anyways, we can see that we're the ones who are actually going to be increasing quality of life. For consumers, we're actually going to be able to decrease prices for them, and that's a pretty significant benefit. And economy, we talk about like future economic benefit, and also we talk about like freedoms, and freedoms are important. And I really feel like I'm right now. Okay. Okay. I negate. I'm done. I'm out.
Time start.
Wait. Okay, as a final speaker.
Same.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Can we start over?
It's only been 8 seconds.
Okay, as the final speaker of the affirmative team, I strongly for today's resolution, the SFG should nationalize internet service providers. So when this debate has come up, I'm going to be discussing key issues that have been in conflict throughout this debate, and also why the affirmative team clearly wins today's round. So one of the key issues was that about costs, and while we provide examples such as France and Finland that have been able to lower their costs and provide high-speed internet to large sums of their population, the negation team's only response was that of, well, the government could just increase prices too. But what they failed to understand is that the government will be providing this like a utility. It will be provided at cost, not for profit. So even though they try to logic this out through in their second speech and explain how competition leads to lower prices, yes, competition does lead to lower prices, yet it's not leading to at-cost prices because, again, these are companies that have to make money. The government's not in this business to make profit. Again, they're simply there to provide a utility. So they clearly have no access to that reputation or impact. Okay, so going on to, and they also talked about how, for the examples that we did provide about other countries, they explained how, well, these other countries have different circumstances. Yet, the negation team has failed to provide what these different circumstances were. What they were. They simply state this. They have no evidence or warrants. They didn't give any examples of different circumstances. Unless you'd like to count Singapore and skyscrapers, honestly, they should have explained more. Okay, going on to safety has also been another. Actually, we're going to attack high-speed internet. So one of their reputations was again about bureaucratic control and how everything will take longer and damages will be greater. Okay, but if we look at the status quo right now, what we see that companies are greatly overcharging, as well as we only have a 63% of broadband internet to Americans, which is frankly ridiculous because other countries who have nationalized and are paying less have upwards of 83%, or France is 5 times better than us. So what we see here is that America right now is not at this point where we're enjoying high-speed internet and everything's great. No, we have to have change in order to make this better, and this is the change that we need because government will be more actively helpful in these issues because under one structure, they'll be able to better solve the problems rather than dividing up all the problems when it comes to infrastructure, which is kind of what's happening right now. So going on to international. Oh yeah, the negation team pretty much dropped this point about international competition, and their only response was, well, Singapore is more aptly suited to have high-speed internet. Okay, the thing is, we can have better rates of internet because, as I mentioned, one of the biggest problems was cost, because many people can't afford internet because it's being jacked up so high by these private companies. And because of that, because we do not have this, we see that we are struggling to compete with the international community, which is enjoying the benefits of high-speed internet, unlike our citizens who only a certain amount of them are, and others are disadvantaged. So what we see is that when we nationalize internet, when we lower the cost, when we provide better services, it's going to enable people to have more access to the internet, which leads to more opportunities for finding jobs or having education or making money. All of this will be greatly improved, and this is something with the negation team has clearly missed. And this should be weighed a lot in today's round. How much more time do I have? Okay, so in the rating impacts, what we see here is that the negation team, everything has pretty much stood refuted, and whereas on the app team we have lower prices, greater efficiency has been backed by our evidence and logic, and finally, better impacts about high quality of life and more access. And for all these reasons, I strongly affirm.
First of all, yes, evidence, please. Daeny, very easy thing you can say to Finland and France, their taxes are like 75%.
Oh, okay.
So yes, they don't pay high prices to cable companies, they pay high prices to the government in the form of taxes. Yeah, that's something you need